Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to you about how important it is to do figure studies and to do warm-ups as often as possible, if not every single day. And I used to be really good about doing figure drawing and warm-up studies daily, and unfortunately I've just fallen out of practice because I am trying to get caught up on MTAC commissions and I'm doing paintings and all this other stuff. That's not a good enough excuse. I really need to make time for it. So today I'm going to do some yoga drawings. I like yoga poses specifically because it puts the body in positions that you wouldn't necessarily find for figure drawing reference online. If you have access to in-person figure drawing sessions and you are old enough to attend them, I recommend doing so. With me, they tend to put you so close to the model you can't actually see anything because it tends to be in little rooms. So I do like doing them virtually when I can. So your intention is not to produce good work. It's just to produce work. And when I do yoga studies, I am really trying to capture the gesture more than anything else. So I try to distill the pose into a single shape if I can, and that really forces me to stay true to the pose instead of kind of getting lost in the details of the anatomy. And I will roughly sketch it out. I mean, people in general are not really meant to see these. I'm showing these to you so I can encourage you guys to do these, but usually these are not something I would necessarily share. Not because I'm ashamed of them, but that's just not the purpose of them. And after I have the rough gesture blocked out, I will go ahead and start adding details. And I don't want to lose too much of the gesture by adding details. That's one of the reasons why I started doing these particular kind of studies, is because I was losing the feeling of the pose trying to render the anatomy. So I knew I needed to pull back. And as a comic artist, I find that doing these sort of exercises where you're drawing people regularly really helps with rendering poses for my own work. It also means I am a faster artist because the muscle memory is there. And one of you guys commented a while back that I say a lot, and that's because it's actually very difficult for me to talk coherently while drawing. So it takes like that extra second for my brain to parse things. That's honestly a pretty common problem. Sometimes the issue is how do I phrase this in such a way that, you know, people can immediately grasp it and not just artists, because that's one of my goals is I want to help bridge like the gap between the artist and the general art admiring public. I want this to be more accessible to everybody. So I've got my first very rough gesture. And usually I would go less detailed. It tends to look a little bit better and it tends to capture the spirit of what I'm doing a little bit better. But it's been a little while, so I'm a little bit out of practice. And I like doing this with color pencils, although my Prismacolors are snapping in my woodcutter sharpener today. I also like doing this sort of stuff in China pencil, basically any sort of media that isn't easily erasable. So that sort of eliminates the desire to nitpick and erase a bunch of things. And if I don't draw a pose well enough, or if my drawing doesn't understand, like if I can't convey to myself that I understand what's going on through the drawing, I will redraw it as many times as I need to understand what's going on. And I highly recommend this. Again, these are not intended to be shown to anybody. That is not your goal. It's nice if you get some stuff out of it. Those of you who may be applying to art schools might be able to get some portfolio material out of doing these sort of studies, but that's not really your goal. Your goal is simply to produce some warm-up sketches. And I've noticed that it is very difficult to find good reference of males in these sort of poses. For a while there, I was working from like a yoga poster with a young gentleman on it, and that worked out really great because I need to practice my male anatomy. But I've drawn all of those poses, and now it's mostly ladies. And when doing these sort of studies, I will try to fill up a couple sheets if I can. It really depends on the pose. And I'm like all about the sort of bent over on themselves poses right now, because those are the sort of things that I struggle with. If I were to draw it and try to draw it from my head, not that you should be drawing without reference, but if I were to try to draw it from my head, it would not be something I could conceive of. So those are the ones that I am trying to go for. That head is in the wrong place. I was trying to fit it in because I have the spirals and I drew it too close to the top. You guys should be doing some form of warm-up or study from life or study from reference every day. So it's okay if it looks bad, and it's okay if it's not intended to be seen by other people, as long as you are learning something from doing it. It has a benefit and you're training your hands. I'm not suggesting take like the easy way or the lazy way out, because just like you can train your hands into good habits, you can train your hands into bad habits that you're going to have to train yourself out of. Which is one of the reasons I like doing study from reference when I'm tired, because it takes the creativity. I don't need to be creative to do it. I just need to sit and practice. And it's very hard for me to do creative stuff when I'm tired or worn out. So with these, you really need to pick a subject that you can accomplish quickly. That way you can find a way to fit it into your schedule every day and it becomes easier not to make excuses, if that makes sense. So if you pick these elaborate things you want to do studies of every day, it's more difficult to make it a habit, because the initial effort is greater than if you're just doing something that's like loose and informed. And see, that's really the point. And I recommend with your warm-ups and your studies that they be from reference or they be from life. Even if you draw in a completely unrealistic style. I mean, my style of cartooning is very much not realistic at all, but I still do studies from life, and I still do watercolor studies from life, because I'm trying to develop a certain set of skills that are applicable regardless of style. So style isn't really a factor here. And if you check out my blog, natosoup.blogspot.com, and you look up like figure drawing, you should find other tutorials and reference and things to sort of get you started if you need help. If you have any further questions, or if you need any further demonstrations, please don't hesitate to ask a question in the comments. Here or on the blog, I will try my best to help you out. If I can't help you out, I will point you out to somebody who can. So I'm Becca Hilburn. I hope this was inspiring, if not necessarily informative, since my aim wasn't to teach you how to do this, but rather to tell you it's a worthwhile pursuit to do figure drawings or to do warm-ups from reference every day. Anyway, I hope you found it helpful and useful. I look forward to seeing what you guys produce. If you link it to me, I'll always take a look. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.